Hi guys, welcome to our daily encounter. Today, as we gather with other Christians and we hear a message from God's Word, we have the opportunity to be noble-minded. That is, to follow the example of the Bereans found in Acts chapter 17. In verse 10, it says, "The brethren immediately sent Paul and Silas away by night to Berea, and when they arrived, they went into the synagogue of the Jews. Now these were more noble-minded than those in Thessalonica, for they received the word with great eagerness, examining the scriptures daily to see whether these things were so. Therefore many of them believed." Here we see the Bereans exercising or displaying a noble mind. It says that they were more noble-minded than those in Thessalonica. In Thessalonica, there were a lot of the Jews that went up against Paul and Silas in their teachings, but those in Berea were very open-minded. They were eager to hear what Paul and Silas had to say. And not only that, they searched the scriptures to find out if what they were saying was actually true. And then it also says that many of them believed. And so they displayed a noble mind because of these things. And we too can display a noble mind as we do the same things. As we listen to a message from God's Word with eagerness, not reluctantly, not saying, well, how long is this going to take? Or just waiting until this is all over so we can go to eat somewhere or get to doing things that we enjoy this afternoon. But really being eager, having a heart that's yearning to hear a message from God, yearning to hear what God's Word has to say. And that would be the first step of having a noble mind, just having the enjoyment of being able to listen to God's Word and listen to God's Word being expounded upon. But secondly, examining the scriptures daily to see whether these things are so. That is, being eager to hear a message from God's Word, but not so eager that we just swallow whatever is said, but that we weigh everything up, or weigh everything to the scriptures, against the scriptures, and compare everything to the scriptures. And so what we do is we go and we listen to a message from God's Word. We're eager to hear it. We do it with a joyful and willing heart. But then as we're listening, we're thinking through what's being said. We're comparing it with other passages of scriptures that we know about. Maybe even after the message is over and we go to lunch or we go home, maybe talk it over with our spouse or our family and kind of mull over what was talked about. Maybe even open up our Bibles and go over some of the main points of the message and compare it with what we find in scriptures. But making sure that the scriptures are involved. It's not just listening to the message and then critiquing it based on our own ideas, our own thoughts, our own feelings, but actually going to God's Word and seeing how it compares to the scriptures themselves. And then it says that many of them believed. That is, when they heard these things with eagerness, when they saw that they actually did line up with the scriptures, they believed what was said. They didn't just say, well, we're eager to hear this, and yes, it lines up to God's Word, but I'm not really buying it, or just staying in a state of a critical mind or skepticism to where they say, what, we're eager to hear it, but we're not so sure it's true. We'll search the scriptures a little bit, but we're never really going to settle on a decision about these particular matters. No, they had the right mind to, when they saw a message or they heard a message and they saw that it aligned with scriptures, to just take it as that and believe it. Whatever the consequences might come from that belief, they were willing to believe it. And so we'll see in a moment that would lead, or we'll see in our reading today, that led to some persecution, some hardship, but still they were willing to believe it because they knew that this message was aligned with scriptures. And we can do the same thing as well today. As we listen God's Word, we can compare it with scriptures. When it is in line with scriptures, we take it, we believe it, we lay hold of it, and we let it affect our lives and be lived out in the way, or be expressed in the way that we live. So today, as we worship with other believers, as we hear a message from God's word, let's be noble-minded. Let's follow the example of the Bereans and be eager to hear the message, compare it with scriptures, and when those two line up together, believe it and take it no matter what the consequences might be. So with that, guys, I do thank you for watching the video today. Hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. God bless.